What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. And today, we finally have it. That's right, the P2K player. The player who wears glasses. The player who just changed teams. The player who I felt like Astralis should have picked up when this very infamous lineup dispersed. The player who played under Hooksy. The player who... The brown man on the op. That's right, it's nicoodoz. He is the missing piece of Astralis. A little tongue-in-cheek here. This video is not meant to be some kind of hit piece against Farley. I will say I did draw some direct comparisons. I watched a lot of Farley tape. I watched a lot of nicoodoz tape on Ancient directly, and I do have some things to say about both of these players, but I don't think that there's any kind of world where nicoodoz could actually, you know, replace Farley on Astralis at this point. That's not the point of this demo. This is just to highlight what makes nicoodoz really good and to get you to click on the video, because I need views, you know, because it's really rainy outside, and if I don't have a roof, all my computer and stuff is going to fry. So I need to keep a roof over my head. So okay, if you click, let me know. Any clickers? Okay, here we are watching nicoodoz play Ancient, and it's actually the T side. I really over-prepared watching the CG side of a lot of these demos, but it was a 19 kill T side on Ancient, so let's learn a thing or two. We're going to pay attention today to the pre-aiming of nicoodoz, and as well the balance of initiative taking, as well as when to be static. And I think those are the two things that make him stand out right now for me as an AWPer. So yeah, let's hop in. Dude, it is one of those days right now. I just analyzed 6 rounds of Flames versus Na'Vi without realizing it. I was supposed to be watching this demo versus Nip the whole time. I just messed up loading up the demo. So okay, now we're into it. And then the other thing that I really guffed today was the fact that I ended up spending yesterday and today studying the hell out of nicoodoz on CT side of Ancient, because, you know, AWPer CT side Ancient, of course you're going to have a lot of impact there. That's what I expected to see. And then I realized that based on a suggestion from a YouTube post, and I think I forgot the name of the commenter, but I appreciate the specificity of saying, you know, this is the demo to watch, and of Ninjas and Dem. It was my due diligence where I messed up, where I didn't realize that it was actually the T side that we should be watching for. So nicoodoz, as reported, had a very strong T side here versus NIP on Ancient, which is a sight for sore eyes, as they say, right? It's not easy these days to get the amount of kills that nicoodoz did. 19 frags in this first half. So we're here to kind of figure out what it is that made this T side so special from nicoodoz. And I think it's very nice to be able to throw in T side demos every now and again. So appreciate that suggestion. Hopefully Mo can edit that in. And shout out to editor Mo for suggesting nicoodoz. I think even though I got this from a comment in a YouTube post, I don't think anybody has been going to bat for nicoodoz more than editor Mo. He has been, it feels like almost 3 years of, hey, look at this game. Hey, you got to watch this player. Hey, look at this major run. Hey, stop betting against Copenhagen Flames. And then boom, we finally are here watching the demo. So yes, it was a group effort to get me to watch. I think it'll take more effort to get me to do Brokey Week, but it feels like nearly as much effort as I would ask to make Brokey Week to watch this nicoodoz demo finally. So anyways, long we have waited. I'm glad to grab this. So I learned, I was looking at a lot of the CD side stuff, and I think there's only a few rounds in the second half. So what we'll do is watch through. We'll watch the whole thing. You know, why not? So what are we doing here? Well, it is Fnatic, the newly formed Fnatic with Roy and nicoodoz continuing to play together. Pause in a 3v1, just trying to figure out where their opponent is before planting the bomb. Pretty simple. Okay, there it is. Now, Plank can go down, yeah, and they can go ahead and fight. So, pretty much all we witnessed. I did not pre-watch this game, but I did watch a lot of, again, other demos. And I did watch... The part I'm kind of sad about is I watched a lot of the Farley CT sides. I watched nicoodoz CT side, and I wanted to talk about that. And this video is by no means meant to be some kind of hit piece for Farley, even though this title is a bit tongue-in-cheek. I do think that, you know, we're watching the better AWPer of the two right now, and I think it's important for me to just state things like I feel they are. But of course, there is not really a world where nicoodoz goes to Astralis right now. Especially look at Fnatic right now; they're doing well, right? Whereas Astralis Of course, they just lost to Complexity. Which, hey, no shame. No shame. I didn't mean any shade by that. I didn't mean anything by that, you know. But it was an upset, right? Number 4 team in the world. So, listen, BlameF walked so Complexity could run. Am I right? All right. So, in the Fnatic game plan, we see a lot of B denial and a lot of B access. And nicoodoz' defaults on the T side will, for the most part, lean towards B. He sometimes throws supporting grenades for mid, including mollying off donut, smoking window, or sometimes going even towards A in certain defaults. And we'll see if that comes down to anti-ecos or what have you. But for the most part, he's starting over in the B site. He's holding for pushes. He's throwing most of the cave utility or the site utility. He's smoking headshot. He's flashing a kind of third in most of the time. And I'm not sure how much he opts as well. So that's what we'll be focusing on here in this demo. But it looks like already we're going off the beaten path. Is that how that idiom goes? Yeah. Went to the fork on the road and went straight. The only good Jay-Z yo, I wake up extra early in the morning to hate on Jay-Z. I don't know why, but you'll never find somebody who's a bigger Jay-Z hater than I am. I'm really sorry about this, but I know this might be news to some people, but yeah, I think Watch the Throne could have been 2 times better if it only had Kanye. That's all I'm going to say. I'm so sorry. Why am I bringing him up? No reason. nicoodoz, 3.09 sensitivity. Dude, what is with... I mean, Degster, 3.09 sensitivity. Wonderful, 3.09 sensitivity. It's like there's some great player that played on the sensitivity that they all want to be like. And I can't put my finger on it, but I don't know what other reason there would be. Either way, it seems to be working for each and every one of them. So maybe it wasn't a player at all. Maybe it was just the sense. Yeah, that's right. No matter what everybody's told you the whole time, you could have just copied a sense and become as good as one of the best players in the world, theoretically. So, yeah. Anyways, kind of mad about it. I don't like how that works, but it works. That's what we know. All right. Nothing doing here. A little bit action towards the B site. All right. So we do get the op. We do get the op instantly in round 6. Let's check it out. And I don't know what the makeup of this round will look like. This is kind of interesting. Oh, okay, they know it's kind of an anti-eco, so fast pick here from nicoodoz into Brolin to kick things off. This is movie mode. Doesn't fix it. Okay. Guess we gotta hope he dies. Sorry, this jumping op thing, I don't like to bring attention to it because then it's all you can look at, but basically, from what I understand, it's impossible to fix. It came when at the same time the bug where, you know, the crosshair gets removed from the screen, which affects even the, you know, the most $1 million broadcasts in the world. For whatever reason, this just came at the same time as an update. It's unfixable, as far as I understand, and I don't really know how to remove it, so I'm really sorry. We have to wait for him to... We have to pray on his downfall here. If he dies and he picks it up again, we're not going to see the bouncing off. I'm really sorry about this. I'm not going to bring it up in most of the time, because I know that's like... That's literally like telling you you're now aware of your breathing. You're now aware of your tongue. You are now manually breathing. See, and that's why we don't want to do it. Wow, the same pick again, this time through the Molotov. And the initiative right here is why we like to talk about nicoodoz. This is something I noticed. I would say, if we talked about Spinks, I was finding it hard to figure out what makes Spinks stand out from other riflers. I think for sure one thing about nicoodoz is very good visualization, which is kind of a blanket term. We can apply that to a lot of people, but really, really solid pre-aims. You know, he has a good idea of when the repeak from his opponent will come and exactly where to clear that, making sure that it's, you know, he's not holding too shallow, making sure that he's also very fast. He's not scared to run. And I think for that reason, he catches my attention. You guys know that I like aggressive oppers, and I like players who take initiative. And I think to draw a contrast to Farley, again, gently and politely, I just want to say I feel like Farley can be a bit lazy sometimes when it comes to how he posts up on angles. I think if you guys have watched Farley's games or watched Farley's demos like I have, you would have noticed that a problem with him is that he doesn't do anything outside of the norm when it comes to opping. And I think especially on Ancient, which was one map that I, you know, kind of hyper focused on. Mirage is another that comes to mind as well. you see some plays that get made where if Farley tries to take an opening, it doesn't work. He just kind of sits there. And sometimes he sits on an angle where he's not too useful. I don't think we see that same energy from nicoodoz. And I appreciate that nicoodoz will go from position to position. He strikes that very hard to find balance between being too static and also being responsible. So on the one hand, if you're too static and you sit on an angle, you're not going to be useful on other parts of the map, right? There was this idea that you're missing opportunities you don't know about because you're just sitting there. Esatag is one of these AWPers. Sometimes he can sit on an angle far too long. Farley does this as well. And on the other hand, it's if you move too much and you're too rambunctious and you like to rotate a lot, then you end up in bad positions, right? You don't get a nice angle that you can hold on to that's nice and deep that you can wait on. You are constantly in a rotator spot, getting smoked out a little bit too late, leaving an opportunity before it comes, that kind of thing. And so great AWPers, or just good AWPers, I don't know if we can call nicoodoz great yet, but good AWPers are going to be able to magically find the way to both be in the right place at the right time and know when to be patient. I think nicoodoz is doing a good job of striking that balance. Now, is nicoodoz free from criticism as an AWPer or as a player? No, not exactly. I think one of the stats that stands out the most that doesn't work in his favor is that his stats fall off a lot versus tier 1 teams. And this is a decent sample size in the recent games that he's played. But that is something that he's got to get under control. Now, when I watch him play, he doesn't strike me as a noob destroyer. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some AWPers like that. There was AWPer in history. Does anybody think that nicoodoz reminds him of AWPer? No. I would say AWPer is another one of those players who he lacks a little bit in the way of visualization. He's incredibly good reactively. He was very fast. He had excellent movement. But he didn't have that quality of, this is why you have the most expensive gun in the game. And it's because you know how to strike the balance between being passive and aggressive. You know when you should be somewhere. You know when to take a risk. You know how to have impact by at that moment where you just decide intuitively, I've got to push through the smoke here. I've got to make this play. That's the hard thing to teach somebody. I really don't think you can. I think if you want to go into a demo review with your teammates, you don't like microanalyze their small decisions and clutches. You just mirror. You just admire. I try to say mirroring. I don't know. So Rips is. You try to just admire when somebody makes a great move, in a micro adjustment, and then say, "Oh, a nice try" if they don't make the great move. But I'm of the mind that you don't really go that deep when it comes to an individual. When it comes to teaching somebody or whatever, you hope that someone can figure that out themselves, but that stuff can come down to intuition. It might be not something you even think about, right? At this level, in that moment. It's just some people got it and some people don't. That's what I think. Some people got it and some people don't. That's what I think. So that's why, you make a roster move away from someone like AWPer or something like that, because you see all of the other components that are great, but, without this one thing. And here it is, the out-op from nicoodoz and esatag. I think this is a good example of not esatag being overly patient, but nicoodoz taking initiative and being aggressive and knowing when he can do so. And he's not afraid to do it with such an expensive gun. He had no support behind him. And he still made something happen here. So that's what we like to see. So I think maybe if he's doing these moves versus better teams, maybe he dies a little bit too much. Maybe that's why his stats come down. He's getting punished for being aggressive. But if he keeps playing like this, gets better at it, then I think he has like a higher potential ceiling than somebody who is too passive all the time. Because anybody can be too passive all the time. Right? I think that's the difference. And I guess most people can be too passive all the time and have impact. Look at this, man. He just kind of sneaks up into the B site, takes out an extra target, and the round is already lost. That one's all about him, basically. But very, very few can be aggressive and do well. And I think we see in late stage of almost everything, whether it's sports, esports, friggin' chess, people, as games get harder and people get better and more people become good, things become safer. I think Gambit were the team that epitomized this, right? With their extremely save-centric playstyle and Shiro's way in the back opping and using the AWPer as a clutcher and never letting the AWP die. And it felt like everything was going to trend in that direction. We had the rise of the CIS, and James was right there with him, and it felt like, all right, two of the most prominent operas right now, both adopting a similar style and making it work very well. Maybe everybody's going to start doing this. And I'm glad to say that I don't think that that's happened. I think Counter-Strike is in a much more exciting place. Apart from some of the T sides being too hard. I think the game is a bit more fun to watch now, but... So yeah, not much to do here. Well, this is nice and simple. I don't even know. Well, he got both those kills. All right, well, just missing everything then. I'll just miss it all. You know how it went down. He went CT, some guy peeked from the left, some guy peeked from the right, dead. All right, out towards A. Very aggressive maneuver. Look how good that pre-aim was. That's an atypical angle, right? But if he was there, he would have been dead. That was a very nice pre-aim, and I'd like to say, I think this is something that nicoodoz has been catching my attention for, at least in a lot of the games that I've watched recently. Very good pre-aims. And the reason that matters is because crosshair placement is one thing, right? Again, this is another thing. Almost everybody can have good crosshair placement, but I think it's much harder to find someone who has good pre-aims because this comes down to visualization. This comes down to practice, straight up. You know, are you running pre-fires? Are you just going into your maps offline and making sure to like line this up 100%? If you pre-aim and then have to flick, there's a huge difference between that and pre-aiming right on a target. When we talk about reaction times in CSGO, there isn't actually I think that there was a study done on this. There was a YouTuber that did this a while ago, but they showed that there is no real peeker's advantage in the sense of the person who peeks shows up first, or sorry, shows up after, and the person who peeks gets to shoot first because of anything game state related. Instead, oh, missed that flash. Instead, it's the case that, or it seems to be the case, that the reason that the player who peeks first has the advantage is because in life, the person who peeks first is going to have a higher reaction time. They're the ones who are instantly more ready to take the duel than the person holding. Let's say, for example, there is an op here, and they're holding this angle hard. They're holding this angle hard. An opper here is clearing out positions this way. And then they swing out into this angle, okay, with the perfect pre-aim. It feels like if two oppers are in these spots, the opper that pre-aims really fast will usually get the kill, and that's where this idea that peeker's advantage exists comes from. But in reality, if we think about concentration as an exercise ball or a stress ball where you squeeze it, okay? Of course, if you're ready to react and you do the human benchmark test and then it turns green and you click really fast, your reaction time is going to be heightened in that moment because you are ready. And you'll notice that over a longer period of time, it becomes harder to be ready because you're squeezing that ball of concentration as hard as you can for as long as you can. But now imagine you're the guy here who is ready for a peek on this position, and you swing out, your concentration is going to be at 100, you know, where his might be at 80, you know, it might be at 60. They might even fall asleep on the angle. There's no such thing as falling asleep on the angle if you're the one driving the car, okay? But if you're the one who is on cruise control and waiting, then I think you have a disadvantage, and that's why we see oppers who peek into other oppers win those duels. So it's a good combination of good pre-aiming as well as, in my opinion, a reaction time advantage, which I read studies about this, but years old now, so I don't exactly remember. You know, YouTube comment, I'm sure one of you guys have seen what I've seen. Uh-oh. That was a really nice nade combo right there. So what happened was he got hit by the HE that goes over the site. We'll see on the CT side what that nade combo looks like. nicoodoz will throw similar grenades. But I read studies both on concentration and how that works, reaction time and how that works, and then also there was a Counter-Strike, you know, Mythbuster study on explaining how peeker's advantage isn't exactly real. Apart from things like right eye peek or your angle dominance, distance from the angle, which I can also talk about if you guys want. But I'm sure most people already know this stuff, so. I'm not sure if it's because Fnatic don't like the A site, don't like going long A, or feel like they're really good at taking B, or really good at going mid/B. But this is where, again, they spend most of their time. So this is what we'll watch. So they smoke headshot there and flash to the right again. Flashing hide on the right to make sure your teammates don't get blind. Waiting a second for the smoke to come up to molly. So the molly comes up, and then ideally the smoke comes up right at the end of the molly, and no one can stand in that position. And then Roy goes in. Safe. See, right there was not a perfect pre-aim, but... Nobody's do you know anybody who's perfect? I don't. Wow, okay. Brolin just tumbled in there like he was drunk. Just came through trying to kill Roy in that corner. This is too easy, and, well, that's a lot of impact. I mean, again, we just see the right amount of patience mixed with the right amount of initiative, and I think that's been very nice to watch from nicoodoz. Hard balance to strike, hard to kind of create teachable moments out of that, but something to pay attention to. A lot of this can be off of information that his teammates have, and a lot of communication that we don't get to hear, mixed with a nice bit of intuition and preparation as well. And I think we're seeing Fnatic play very well right now. I think a lot of people would call it overperforming just because there's just haven't played that much. Like, surely teams will get used to them and then whatever. But I think what they've shown us with these early wins is they've actually carved out a style very quickly. Mezzi's clearly doing a good job calling, who I believe is calling. And, yeah, not everyone's playing the same way that they have on their previous teams. Like, nicoodoz and Roy both get their spots on the CT side of Ancient, where Roy is playing inside of Cave, and nicoodoz is rotating from mid and B as the AWPer. But I think they cleaned up a lot of stuff, actually, with how they rotate around. So, you know, I'll spend a good amount of time in the second half talking about that. Oh, well, there is a world that the AWPer rotates out of Cave. In the 5v3, there's a chance that he gets this pick. But if his teammates don't do anything... Oh, there's the shot missed. Unfortunately, that actually would have been an opportunity to go to the B site, but Brolin still exists and persists in one final round, so... Oh, here are some of the supporting grenades for mid that I was talking about, which is pretty much the extent of the action that nicoodoz will give us inside of middle. And there's a cool little combo between nicoodoz and Fasher. They've got a bit of a bromance going on the CT side, where Fasher will take the fight down Banana, and nicoodoz will support him with grenades. Oh, that's a good one. That is a nice shot right there. Quick, precise, bit through the wall. S-Tac approached that as probably as safely as he could have. And nicoodoz, look how aware of all these different fights he is. Wow. And this is his 19th kill, it looks like. Maybe he puts the final nail in. Let's go ahead and check. Nope, that's it. 19. Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty solid. He had just... Look at how easy all those shots were. You could count the flicks on one hand, right? Almost every single kill was either a pre-aim or him holding the right position. And we never saw him waiting forever. You know, once in a while he would take his time and sit on a position, but that was maybe 2 or 3 times in the half. So, all right, now moving into the second. Pistol's over with. P2K user nicoodoz grabs his 1. And almost every single round, there will be Crims and nicoodoz starting out in middle. So he works with 2 guys. That's Crims and Roy on the map. Barely gives A any attention. And gets Crims down into elbow. Like right into the grease. Alright, that's just unfair. But basically, he provides the escort service and gets Crims into this position. So first spawns out are mollying. After that, it's smoking the deep elbow, and then usually getting Crims down here. So this is already a little different. Normally we don't see him opping out of elbow. And I want to say Fnatic have clearly been very prep heavy when they played against Na'Vi and when they played against ENCE. I think were the 2 games that I watched last. And I think That's one thing where I wonder, you know, how much of the stuff is reactive and how much of this is game plan. But from what I can tell, they do leave giant gaps. Like they very much underplayed the A site in their previous games. I never saw nicoodoz opping out of donut like this. I don't think a single time in those previous games. This is more classic Shiro style of taking donut control, waiting, holding down mid. So strong. It's not something where you have to like peek and unpeek and create timings through middle. You just hold this the entire time. And we get past a time where it actually makes sense to go through the window for nicoodoz. So it just becomes stronger and stronger, because if it comes past that time, it doesn't make sense to smoke donut, then you're not going to see any lurkers come through mid. So this is pretty huge. And I think if I was Rez and I watched some nicoodoz games, I wouldn't expect him to be there in that position. In fact, what you'll see most of the time is he never lingers in mid. So if it's later on, nicoodoz will hold on for early mid control. Most of the damage is done with the utility, as we're about to see. And then if no one comes out here to fight Crims, he just leaves and goes B. So we'll see if something changes here. But they get a kill on the A side, and immediately nicoodoz. This flash is great because you don't have to tell your team about it. No one's turning from this. You just throw it high and above to stop anybody coming down from banana. And let's see if we get any supporting grenades for Fasher here, who's actually playing quite passive. Nice kill. Berlin shoots a couple of rubber bullets. And nicoodoz doesn't flinch. Alright. Yeah, he did a great job this game, that's for sure. So here it is. Molly needs smoke in hand, and Crims is jumping up. So, again, Fnatic, they try not to be shy. They let Roy play aggressively inside of Cave. nicoodoz flashes Fasher down towards the bottom of the B push, and they try to just make sure there's no one there. And then this is about as far as nicoodoz will go. Sometimes he'll go into the Cave and watch for long entirely, but most of the time, they just don't worry about A that much. I mean, that's pretty much what the game is for them. And look, it actually works out quite well as well. So I think a couple good things about Fnatic right now is they're using their players very aggressively. They're trusting them. And like this is including Crims with these CT pushes. Fasher, he's flourishing with the aggression that they have coming down. And nicoodoz is managing to be third in, but clearly has T-side impact as well as, you know, hitting great shots on CT as well. So that's a wrap. Hits him with the GG. Nothing back. I love how some people just don't say anything. People just leave. That was nicoodoz, the missing piece of Astralis. So yeah, again, I've got a high opinion of him. I think he's great. I keep calling him the best AWPer in Denmark. We saw a very good major run from him. We've seen him come out of nowhere with the old Flames lineup. Shout out to Hooksy for kind of bringing them into that. And actually, I think, okay, so when I was looking at his stats versus tier 1 teams, I was filtering for 2022. In total, he's not doing too bad, but this year, his stats are just, you know, quite a bit lower, I would say, for 0.94 in the last 19 maps versus the top 5. Again, I don't think that this is something that will stand out. I don't think it's something that will stay for a long time because I've just seen really good play out of him. But yeah, something to pay attention to. But I think Fnatic were a team. Somebody asked me, do I think that Fnatic will be able to win a tournament now? Because I think some of you know that this has been kind of my bar for if I like want to look in your direction as a roster. And I think I said no. But I don't know. I think I changed my mind. And they had such a good pro league group. They look good. Their players are playing well. They've already carved out somehow an identity. I have a very high opinion of Mezzi. I like pretty much everyone on this lineup. I think Crims one day will be the best of all of the old men. You know what I'm saying? Like of all of the old legends that have played, I feel like Crims is actually going to have the most longevity. I think I believe in the team now. I don't know, winning a tournament is not easy. So I'm not setting that as some kind of low bar, but just a shit. Okay, maybe they'll win a Snow Sweet Snow. We'll see. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. That was nicoodoz. And let me know who we got next in the comments below. Peace.